Welcome back to episode 7 of Bee's Travelogue. For my flight to Phuket, I arrived at Suvarnabhumi airport really early in the morning. Looking out the window, I saw what I thought was the shadow of the plane. It got smaller as we went higher up in the air. At that point, I noticed it was inside a rainbow circle. I really didn't think at first that it was real, but I found out later that this is what's called a pilot's glory, and it does not happen very often. I feel very fortunate to have seen it. As we reached Phuket and the Andaman Sea, the views were just spectacular. The islands below us and the color of the sea were something I had not seen before. Phuket is quite a large island with several towns and beaches. I had done my research beforehand and decided to stay at Patong beach, which was supposed to be very beautiful. I got a taxi at the airport, and of course we right away got into a heavy downpour. So once I got to my hotel, the Holiday Inn Express, I first went for a late breakfast. The beach was just a couple of blocks from my hotel, so I went down to check it out. It was actually very large, much bigger than I had thought. And at this point of the morning, the clouds were still very low and touching the hills to the left and right. People were paragliding all over the beach. I decided to go to the north end first to check it out, see where it was leading, and found a sign for Patong Beach. And then turned around and went back to the southern end of the beach. The paragliding continued all day and night. It was very fun to watch and I think also very affordable. You just had to watch for the ropes on the beach. As I was walking along, I saw a crab crawling in the beach. I saw a dead pufferfish. And then later I found a whole area with tiny mussels that I collected. They were different colors and very pretty. The north end of the beach was less populated with tourists and started to become more Thai, with Thai fishing boats. Looking back toward the city, there were really some dark clouds threatening behind me. So I decided to keep going on the road and see what I would find. I was using Google Maps everywhere I went and saw that I wasn't too far from another beach called Freedom Beach. So I decided I would try and walk there. When I reached the path down to the beach, I had to pay somebody, a Thai man, 100 baht, I believe, to be allowed to go down there. I didn't think it was right, but I couldn't really argue well, so I just paid it. The views were spectacular. The sun had the halo around it. This part of the beach to the right had the best green color. I ended up tripping over nothing and hurt my shoulder and my leg, but I was fine. I could still walk back to the beach and then just sat in the sand and rested for a while. However, the thought of walking all the way back to Patong Beach was really overwhelming, and I knew I wouldn't be able to get a taxi here. So when I saw a boat that dropped off people, I decided to just ask if I could get a ride back to Patong Beach. And the guy said, okay, for 500 baht. And another man I think a Japanese man, also paid 500 baht, and together we walked through the water to the boat, and then the captain of the boat drove us all the way back to Patong Beach. Along the way, we saw more beaches that I had read about before, but I still felt that the beach I had picked, Patong Beach, was for many reasons the best beach. The location, the availability of services, getting picked up for my PP Island trip the next day. For all those reasons, Patong Beach was the most convenient for me. Leaving the spectacular green water behind, we rounded a cape, and finally Patong Beach came back in sight. I think the whole trip took about half an hour by boat and would have taken me probably another 2 hours to walk back. This way, with the boat, I made it back to the beach in time for sunset. We were dropped off near the southern end of Patong Beach again. We had to jump off the boat and walk through the water, but that was fine with me. I was just happy to have made it back before sunset and to be close to my hotel. Boats were being parked on the beach now, as everybody was getting ready to call it a night. A few last paragliders were enjoying the view. I just sat down on the sand at that point and rested while I watched the color changes in the clouds and the reflection on the water. The sunset was truly amazing. A lot of people said the next day that they regretted not having stayed to see it. A lot of people were talking about it, that it was better than other sunsets they had seen in the past. For me, it was the first of many beautiful sunsets that I was going to see on my travels through Southeast Asia. As the strip of light on the horizon got smaller and smaller and more orange, I finally got up and decided to head back for dinner. I went back to the same restaurant where I had breakfast that morning and had a German Wiener Schnitzel for dinner. It was very good. The next day, I was picked up for my PP Island tour. If you want to see photos and videos from this trip, which was phenomenal, please join me for episode 8. I had only booked 2 nights on Phuket, so I only had a very short amount of time in the morning on Tuesday to look at a temple and the beach, and then really big clouds were pulling up, and I decided to go to the airport early, which was a good decision because the roads ended up being extremely flooded and we had to go very, very slowly. But because I left early, I had plenty of time and was not worried about missing my flight. I had lunch at the airport and then boarded my flight, which was uneventful, no pilot's glory. The views were wonderful, and we made it back to Bangkok on time. Thank you for watching. I hope you'll join me for episode 8 on PP Island and episode 9 for my final week in Bangkok. If you have any comments or suggestions or special requests, please let me know in the comments. Thanks again for watching.